It's a fancy way of saying that I study astrology and magic, so. Yeah. A pain in the ass.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was quite rebellious. I'm much calmer now as I've gotten older. And so my mom would ban me from buying books. And so I would go to Barnes & Noble, buy books, keep them in the car, and then sneak them in at night. So that was my way of rebelling against my mom, is buying more books than I should have. Don't watch it if you don't want to cry. It will make you cry. I think of astrology as the divination of time. It is fundamentally about recognizing the sacredness in natural rhythms. So I think of it as the divination of time. It's a fancy way of saying that we're all looking at a weird clock in the heavens. No, they weren't astrology books. I don't think I got my first astrology book until I was 13 years old or 14 years old, but I grew up with astrology. So okay. Astrology is part of the culture that I grew up in. If you know anything about Islamic culture, the Islamic calendar is a lunar calendar. And so Muslims are paying attention to the phases of the moon. So I jokingly say that academics or historians are academic necromancers for this very reason, because for a moment the dead come to life. You know, that's a bullshit story.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's not. I mean, it's not anyone's fault. If you pick up any modern astrology book, they do the same sort of history. Astrology, and I don't mean to offend anyone here, but Western astrology is the detour. Western astrology is a minor branch that involves the translation of Arabic and Persian texts that then emerged in the Latinate world and then died 2 different times. And that's totally fine. But what Abu Mashar does is he creates a cohesive system. And to that cohesive system, he adds in annual predictions, what you all call solar returns nowadays. He is, in many ways, the father of the solar return. But it's pretty intense. And at each level, you receive a certification, what's known as an ijaza. So you receive it first for electional astrology, then natal astrology, then horary astrology, then world astrology. So it took a good 6 to 7 years, I would say.
That's wild.
It is wild, but I have a really good system. So.
Okay. What archive? Where did you just get back from?
I got back from Berkeley. So I went to Berkeley twice in the past few weeks. One to give a talk.
Okay.
So comets are quite complicated. You look first to see where the comet appears in the sky, so which zodiac sign it is, and that's what the translation is in front of you. But then on top of that, you have to examine the color of the comet and the form of the comet. Some of them are lance comets, some of them are hairy comets, some of them are bearded comets, etc. But this will give you a starting point so that you can start making interpretations. So world astrology is the oldest branch of astrology. From what we can tell, that the first examples of astrology come from the ancient Babylonians, who were examining the movement of the planets across the zodiac, and from there made predictions about the world. That included weather, the economy, agriculture, and of course politics. I'll give you an example of this. In the 10th century, the court astrologer predicted that there, as a result of the conjunction in Cancer, that there would be a massive flood. And so the Caliph, recognizing that the flood was going to happen, built a series of walls around Baghdad. The astrologer was right. A flood did in fact happen, but because they had built the walls, not a lot of people ended up dying. And so this was really important for this moment, is not only predicting the future, but acting as an early warning system. Far more than economics, far more than no shade to the political scientists in the room. It's a crap major, sorry. Besides history, and I'm obviously biased, astrology is really the only genuine way of explaining why the world looks the way that it does in a genuinely robust way. The second is that world astrology at its fundamental core is a way of reclaiming time. And that is an incredibly radical act. We live in a moment of pervasiveness of capitalism, which colonizes every aspect of your life. If there's a reason why your lives feel as frustrating as they do, is that colonialism and capitalism have a very uncomfortable relationship with one another. It's an entirely arbitrary, made-up, meaningless day. There's no signification to it besides getting drunk and making out at midnight, right? There's actually, all the traditions have to be invented because there's nothing to it. In contrast, in my culture, the first of the year is the Aries ingress. Then you prepare and then you get in the car, and then you commute. And you commute a long period of time before you arrive at your job. And then you spend several hours at that job, at which point when you're done, you commute back. By the time you've come home, you haven't worked an 8-hour day, you've worked a 12-hour day minimum. And you're so incredibly exhausted that the most you can do is scroll on that hell app that is known as TikTok, right? In order to self-soothe, in order to deal with it. In other words, capitalism robbed you of an entire day. Would it look different? Are you able to reclaim some aspect of that? And this is where I think world astrology offers its most important intervention. It's a way for you to reclaim time, to recognize that the world that you live in, the calendar that you operate in, isn't just empty and meaningless or the service of some faceless corporation just so you can put bread on the table.